What Was That Like contains adult language and content and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to What Was That Like? I'm your host, Scott Johnson. This is the show where we talk to regular people just like you or just like me, who have found themselves in an extremely unusual situation. We'll hear their stories and get inside their head because we all want to know, what was that like? More information about each episode at whatwasthatlike.com. Here we go. Today is February 14, and in most places around the world, that means a special holiday, Valentine's Day. If you didn't realize that's what today is, you might be in a bit of trouble with your special someone by the end of the day. And since I knew I would have a new episode coming out on Valentine's Day, I wanted to find a story that is related to love and romance, but would still be unusual and interesting enough to be an episode here on What Was That Like? Then I came across Matt's story of how he proposed to Ginny, and I knew I had to put this one on the show. You know how when you go to the movies in the theater, and before the actual movie comes on, you see the trailers to preview other movies? Well, Matt created his own custom movie trailer, and he got the movie theater to show it right there in the theater. And Ginny, his girlfriend, was in that theater, and she had no idea what was about to happen. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now, and I really hope you follow my suggestion. You need to watch Matt's video before you listen to this episode of the show. Seriously. You can see the video in the show notes for this episode, which is at whatwasthatlike.com/43. Just go there and watch it, and do it before you listen to the rest of this podcast episode. Everything that Matt and I talk about will make so much more sense if you do that. Matt's video not only shows the movie trailer that he made as part of proposing to Ginny, but it also shows her real-time reaction as she watches it herself for the first time. And actually, if you're a member of our private Facebook group, you saw that I went in there a couple of days ago and posted the video so that everyone in that group could watch it ahead of time and be fully prepared for when this episode went live. Just one more reason you should be in that group. Anyway, I think you're really going to love this conversation I had with Matt. I get a big kick out of talking with creative people who like to do things that are way outside the norm, and Matt is definitely outside the norm. His creativity with this proposal made this video go viral, and he and Ginny were invited out to Los Angeles and appeared on The Ellen Show, in addition to a ton of other media appearances. Ellen even paid for them to honeymoon in Jamaica. So I had a great time talking with Matt, as you'll be able to tell. And if you'd like to join the other listeners who support this show for as little as $1 a month, just go over to whatwasthatlike.com/support. So happy Valentine's Day, and here's my conversation with Matt. Was there ever any doubt at all, or were you were 100% sure that she was going to say yes?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm more of a person that wants to be proactive instead of reactive. So I had definitely been putting feelers out leading up to the proposal. And there was one big task that I told her. I said, when you know 100% that you're ready to get married, what I want you to do is I want you to give me a list of 20 people that if we were going to elope somewhere to where we had to put people on a plane to go to our wedding, that these 20 people are 20 people that you would want at the wedding. I want you to give me that list. So I was waiting for that list to come, whenever that may be. And it actually happened on Valentine's Day, February 14th, the same day that this is airing, 9 years ago. She gives me this list while we were down in Miami. And there's actually a video of when she actually gave me the list. She let me go through a scavenger hunt to find it. And it was her gift to me. So as soon as she gave me that list, I knew that it was go time. that she was going to say yes. So I was ready to make it happen.
That is awesome. So yeah, you knew it was game on at that point, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's talk about how you came up with this. And your wife's name, or then girlfriend's name, is Ginny. And how long before you actually made this thing happen did you get this idea?
There's actually a really funny story and romantic gesture behind it. So I grew up knowing Ginny. Me and her brother actually went to school together. We lived less than 2 miles apart from each other. The problem was when I was a senior in high school, she was a freshman. And she was my friend's little sister. So we really didn't talk much in school. And then we reconnected. I actually went and joined the service. And when I got out of the military, I was putting on promotions at local bars and restaurants and happened to run into her. Well, fast forward a little bit, and on our second date, I did something that was pretty over the top for her. I had my own house. I told her I wanted to cook dinner for her. So she comes over to the house, and I bring her in, and it's rare for a bachelor pad to actually be really clean and neat and everything put up. So I was really proud of myself at that time because the house was really clean.
You really went all out cleaning the house. Now that's a serious thing right there.
Oh, it was serious for me to sit there and clean the house the way that I did. I wouldn't have done that just for anyone. So I take her around the house. I make sure that she notices, that it's just clean, that everything is bare. The lights are up bright. Well, I found out that she really loves scratch off lottery tickets. So I told her, I said, "Hey, come back here." I take her in my guest room and I have some scratch off tickets for her. I shut the door and she's doing the scratch offs, and it takes her about 5 minutes to do all of them. And then jokingly, I say to her, "All right, well, are you ready for dinner?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, that's a good thing because I reserved the nicest table in the place for us." And she starts laughing. Well, when I open the door, all the lights are dim now in the entire house. There's music playing. We go around to where my dining table is, and the dining table is set like you were at a high-end restaurant. And she's looking at me and she's like, "What is going on here? Because you've been with me." In her head, I know she's thinking, "I've been with him the whole time. Like, how is this possible? I just saw that table. There was nothing on it. I just saw the lights and now they're turned down and there was no music playing." So anyway, I pull out her chair for her and she sits in the chair across from me, and I go and I sit down and I look at her and I say, "Well, would you like some wine?" And she said, "I would love some." So I clapped my hands to the side. And about that time, my buddy, who I had enlisted to come help with this date, comes walking around the corner wearing a 3-piece suit, towel draped over his arm. And she knows him. She knows this guy. And she literally falls out of the chair laughing. Like, she falls on the ground laughing, dying seeing this guy dressed up the way he is. But now she all figured it out, And here's the really important part. She gets back in her chair and she said, "Oh my gosh, Matt, I feel like I'm in the movies." And I said, "No, don't you worry." I said, "We're going to make the movies jealous." And if you notice, that's the title of the proposal, is Making the Movies Jealous.
Mm-hmm.
So that literally happened. That was our second date. Well, that night when I went to bed, I dreamed the proposal. I literally dreamed it. I dreamed the movie theater. I dreamed making it. I dreamed asking her parents, her being in the seat, like the whole thing, dreamed it all up. And the next morning I called my mom and told my mom, "Mom, I met the woman I'm going to marry." And, I told her about the whole date, told her about the dream. And it was just, it was pretty wild how that all came about.
You said you told your mom. Did she not live locally, or did she not know Ginny already?
No, she did not. My parents are divorced. So I was my dad's side of the family where I lived with in high school. They lived up about 35 minutes away from where my mom lived. So we're not real far apart, and I would see them very often. But it was just the fact, you'd call your mom, you'd tell her you met the girl. So
sure. And I'm sure mom was excited about that too.
Oh, she was. And then when she met her, it was a match made in heaven, I guess you could say.
So from the time you dreamed it until the time it actually happened, how much time had elapsed by then, or how much time did you have to make it happen?
Well, from that second date, we only dated about 7 months before we got engaged. So, which we know is fast. I was definitely not anticipating it moving that quick. But it was just kind of that thing, like when you know, and I could tell she was feeling the same way, and we were kind of, talking about it. And then that's why I told her, I said, well, look, I'm not going to push you by any means, but when you're ready, I want that list. And like I said, that list happened in our second date was in actually that she gave me the list about 2 months into us dating, which is crazy now that I'm saying that out loud. I've never really thought about the timeline, to be honest with you. But yeah, because our very first date was the day after Christmas. Our second date was right before New Year's. And then she gives me the list on Valentine's Day. So, wow, that's crazy.
Wow. And then the actual movie theater event was in May, like 3 months later?
Right. Yep. Yeah. So, right after that, I went into plan mode. I mean, I already knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to pull it off because I wasn't a videographer and I didn't have that kind of equipment. So, funny story behind that. I was really active on social media, of course, because I had a promotions company too, a local promotions company. So I started asking my friends, hey, does anybody know anybody that makes videos? And a girl that I went to school with, she messages me and she's like, hey, my husband, he actually makes rap videos, which I was like, okay, well, let's check out his work. And it was crazy because when I watched his work, I could see the talent, but all his videos were rap videos. And I'm like, how is this guy going to transition from rap videos to a marriage proposal? But the good thing was, I pretty much had the whole thing planned. Like I knew what I wanted. So he'll tell you, if you talk to him, and we've done countless interviews now, people ask him, how is Matt as a client? And he's like, I've never had anybody come to me and say, this is what I want. This is how we're going to do it. Let's roll with it. And he loved it because he said, normally I'm the one having to pull information out of clients, and he knew what he wanted to do. So
you had the whole storyboard laid out for him already.
Yeah. So, we had so much fun making this video. And I mean, it really did take about 3 months to make it. We filmed everything in about a month's time period. And then the editing, I would go over and watch him edit this, and just the amount of detail that he puts into his work is just phenomenal. I mean, just every little detail of syncing up the audio, everything. I never realized how much it took to make a video. I mean, 30 seconds of video could take 2 hours to do, or more even.
Yeah, anybody that watches that video, and again, I would encourage people, before you even hear the rest of this interview, go and watch this video. But anybody that sees that and is familiar at all with video production is going to know that this is a production, definitely, because you've got multiple scenes, or multiple locations rather, different camera angles. It's like a multi-camera shot, but you probably only used one camera and just did some retakes, or did things over and over again, probably.
Right.
So this was your friend Mike. He helped you make the film. He kind of put into action what you already had in your head. What did Ginny's dad think when you proposed this idea to him? Because he's going to be in it. He's in it at the beginning.
Right. No, yeah, and he was a big part of it. So that was a tense moment for me, thinking, what if I knew he liked me, but what if he didn't like me that much, and second, what if he wasn't comfortable doing this in the video, because that was extremely important. And, Ginny always told me, she said, the day that I get married, I hope the person asks my father for permission. And, we're from the South, we're in Georgia. And that's just kind of the way we're raised. And I don't see it as being an old, sexist tradition or anything like that at all. I see it as being respectful. I have a daughter now. Me and Ginny have a daughter, and I would hope that the person that wants to marry her would ask me as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. It was a tense moment, but he's such a fun-loving guy that he was pumped about it. He was like, yeah, man, let's do this. Like, this is going to be so fun. And what a lot of people don't know, the scene of me talking to him is at her church camp that she grew up in, which is right in between our houses almost. And it's a big outdoor, it's called Shingle Roof Campground in McDonough, Georgia. So it was important, there's aspects of that video that just as important to she and I. And I did that on purpose. Like I wanted to put a lot of thought and a lot of meaning into even just the small details.
So when she was watching that, did she recognize the location aside from the people that were in it? But did she know right away where that was?
She, when I go back and asked her about that, she said the first thing she heard is the voice, or actually, I apologize. The first thing she heard was the song by Train, the Marry Me song. And we had all talked about, we love that song. We were like, oh, this is cool to have at our wedding if we get married one day. So you see her in the video. And if you notice, I put subtitles in there. We had to watch that video, I don't know, 150 times just to be able to get the exact wording right. Because we were reading her lips, because we know that when you watch the video, it's going to be hard for anybody to read lips. So we did the subtitles, and you see her, she's like, oh, that's the song that me and Matt like. And then she hears my voice, and you see her head kind of snap.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, wait a minute, how is that? Sounds like Matt. And then the song's playing, and then she starts to see the images of the campground. And it starts playing with her mind to where she's like, wait a minute, and she's looking to her brother for confirmation. And of course he's in on it. He knows, and he's just playing dumb. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the video just keeps going. And then, the really powerful scene, the one that I wanted, and like I'd envisioned this, and Mike was fantastic at capturing it, as when it's me and her dad talking, it's neck down. All you see is our hands and neck down. That's on purpose. Like I wanted to build it up.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that's one of the brilliant components of this is that gradual reveal, because, you could tell as soon as she heard a voice that, wait a minute, that's somebody I know, but it was still neck down and it was still kind of blurry. But as you guys kept talking, it was more and more of a reveal. And that's when, you could see she finally fully realized when she saw her dad's face and it wasn't blurred. That seems like that was the point, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite scenes of the whole video. When it pans up and it blurs really bad on his face, and then it comes into focus, mm-hmm. and it's her daddy's face looking right at the camera. That's when she loses it. You see her, in the hidden camera, she loses it right then. That's one of the best parts of the whole video, I believe.
Was it just you and Mike involved in this, and her dad, of course, or were there other people working with you?
As far as the video goes, it was just me and Mike and her dad making the video. Now, of course, Mike's wife was in on it. She had to help us out with some things.
With other people being involved, did you have any concerns about her finding out about it ahead of time?
We definitely had concerns that she would find out. And because of that, we kept it to a very minimum of who knew. And it was only people that had to know. We kept secrets literally right up to the day before the proposal. We have people inside the theater there to watch it, the people that were on that list, if you think back to that she gave to us, that knew that something was coming, and they had a date that they were supposed to block off, but I didn't even tell them what was taking place on that date. And these were random people, so they weren't talking to each other either. So literally it was almost like a pop-up thing, like, well, they'll say, hey, watch for this to come up, be here at this day at this time. Well, I told people, I had a secret Facebook group, told them, hey, block this date on your calendar, something you're definitely not going to want to miss. And it's going to be in this general vicinity. And I said, I will give you details as it comes along, but just block this date off. So that way I made sure that people were there that needed to be there.
Right. That's the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because it looked like when she turned around, she was surprised at who was in the theater. So we'll talk about that. But okay, so for creating the film, how did you start? You the idea was in your head, but Mike kind of mapped out the various locations, or you picked the one location, but how did you guys just get started creating this thing?
Well, I went over to his house and met with him face to face. Told him everything I wanted to do. We started talking through text messages and email, just talking about the storyboard and all. And it was crazy. It felt like me and Mike had been friends for years, and we worked so well together. I mean, I'd never worked with another creative person like that, and it was just so smooth. It felt effortless. It felt like it was just meant to be, and everything we did just worked out. I mean, there was very few retakes. We almost did all the filming in 2 days. Like, we did the first filming we did the filming with her dad at the campground, and then we did the car chase scene is what it's been called. And the funny part is, you think about it, the movie theater, it's the movie theater is a phenomenal story in itself, because this was a smaller regional movie theater chain called Great Escapes that was our local theater. I walk in there, ask to speak to the manager, me and Mike, and we tell him what we want to do. And we tell him, hey, we're going to have to film some in the lobby. We're going to have to film some in the halls. We're going to have to film we're going to have to play this in the theater, and we're going to have to record. Like, there was just so many aspects that had to take place at the theater. And the first thing we had to do was get buy-in from the theater. And, people ask me all the time, God, I bet that was super expensive, for him to rent out that theater. Here's a secret. It didn't cost me a dime, not 1 cent. We didn't. Well, the only thing I did buy was the popcorn that you see in the movie. I literally bought that small popcorn, and that was it. That's all they charged me for. Here's kind of like a God moment right here that was crazy. The theater was an older theater, and like I said, it wasn't like a big national chain. And to be able to play our video, I was going to have to purchase a projector, like from Best Buy or Walmart, just a home projector. And we were going to have to put it up in the projector room next to the big one and play it before the theater, before the movie, because there was no way to get it on film. They still had film. So we had worked all this out, and the only bad thing was it just didn't look as good as it should, because it's not the projector's not as powerful. It's got a long throw. It's kind of blurry, and we were a little bummed about that, but we were, there was nothing we could do about it. Not kidding you. The day before, and nobody, even the manager, had no idea about this, but the day before the proposal, the movie theater got bought out by Regal. Regal shipped them brand new digital projectors that same day, and they installed those projectors the day before the proposal was to take place. And then we were able to literally take Mike's laptop computer, plug it up to the projector, and play it through the same projector that the movies play through. And that's why it looked so real in person.
It looked perfect. Yeah. That is incredible.
And it was, it couldn't have gone better. And we were really slick about it. The one thing you don't see in our version of the video that we posted was the first trailer we play was actually Hangover 3, because that was a real trailer that was in the theaters at the time. So we played that trailer first to kind of throw her off, so that, it just didn't go immediately into our trailer. So, when it plays, I mean, the sound system is, it's playing like it would. It looked just like a real trailer. Exactly.
It does. Yeah. And she's not suspicious at all when it comes up. It's lucky that, what if she would have said, oh, that's still the previews, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That would have, so many things could have gone wrong that day, right? But they didn't.
And I'm glad you brought that up. If you think back to the beginning of this interview, the first thing I said was I'm a big person about being proactive and not reactive. So when I talk about the amount of detail that went into this, all that was planned. I mean, we had a timeline of when she was going to get there, the moment she was going to sit down, the moment the lights would go down, the moment the video would start. And the reason for that is Ginny is never on time, ever. That's her. She has one fault. Like, she's perfect, except for she's never on time for anything. She'll be late to her own funeral. She's bad about it.
And that's got to add to a lot of stress when you're planning something like this, right?
extreme amount, because, you know, when you watch the video, you learn that it's not just us in that theater. There's random people in there because they're really there to watch a movie in that theater. There's an actual movie going to play. We're just doing it at the beginning of it. But a funny thing leading up to that was Ginny always told me, she said, well, you know, the day that if you ever do propose to me, if the day I do get engaged, she would always tell her friends, I just hope I have pretty nails, because she knows that she'll be taking pictures and, you know, with the ring and all, and that she's going to want pretty nails. So I knew that that day of the proposal that we were going to have an engagement party at my house. So I called her over and I asked her, I was like, hey, and I told her we were just going to have some friends over, and I asked her if she would come help me clean my house. So she comes over, she's actually helping me clean the house for her own engagement party that she doesn't know is taking place.
That's awesome. I love that.
So to set it up, I work sometimes on the weekend. I go have dinners with clients. And so I told her I had a dinner that afternoon, and her brother randomly calls her, you know, earlier that week and says, hey, I want to go see this movie. And it's Fast Five was the movie they went to go see. And she was like, oh, this is great. We haven't done that in so long. So we knew that she would be down for that. And I knew that that date was going to be available. So as she's helping me clean the house, I have to make sure she gets her nails done. So I had went and bought her a gift certificate to get a manicure done. And while we're cleaning, I started a fight with her on purpose. like got mad at her. I can't even remember what it was about, but I was like, look, would you please you just need to go for a little bit. Just let me do this. I've got it. I was like, here, actually, I got a certificate for a manicure. Go get your nails done before you go to the movie with your brother. And she was like, okay, great. You know, that's great with me. So she goes and gets her nails done.
That must have killed you to be fake mad at her, right?
It did, but it was for the greater good. So I was okay with it. Okay. I knew that there was that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
The end justifies the means. Okay, I get it.
That's right. So as she leaves, that's when I leave the house, and I dress up, like I put my suit on, all this, like I'm going to a real client meeting. I made sure she saw me in that before I left. And she goes and gets her nails done. I go to my quote work meeting. So then I'm hightailing it to the theater. And of course, I have to put on the same outfit that I had on during the video.
Of course, we don't want any continuity problems. Yeah.
Exactly. So everything is timed up. I've got her brother is picking her up an hour before the movie starts. So we have it set up to where when she comes in the theater, you know, you notice on the movie, there's a hidden camera on her. And the hidden camera is a Canon PSI. I can't remember which one it is. It's a big DSLR camera. So it's not very small. So I had to enlist a friend of mine to sit in the back row of the front, right before the risers start to go up, and the camera's in between those two seats, and he has to drape a coat over it to hide it. And we have these two seats reserved that Ginny has to sit in, and her other brother is actually in a wheelchair, so this worked out well. He's in on it as well. So we have the seat where the wheelchair would be right next to her. Charlie, her other brother, is sitting to her left, and Ginny is sitting in the chair in the middle, and that's the one the camera is focused on.
That's excellent. I wondered about that too. How did you somehow force her to sit in that seat? But it was logical. She had to be on the landing because of the wheelchair.
Exactly, right. And I had the theater create some reserved signs, and Charlie called the theater, pretended to call on their way, and told them, hey, you know, we've got a wheelchair with us. Can you reserve two seats? And they're like, oh, yeah, of course. But everybody's in on it, you know. So we had those signs on those seats. The entire time, me and Michael are up in the projection room, and we're watching the theater, you know, and I'm in contact with her brother. So I see when they pull up, I'm running to the projection room. Soon as they come into the theater and sit down, the moment they sit down, we had controls of everything. So we dropped the lights even lower. Right before she walked in, we lowered the lights lower than they normally would be, because we didn't want her to see anybody in the theater. You know, if she just happened to look up into the seats, we didn't want her to recognize anybody.
So all of the people that were behind her, did they come in before she did or after?
well before. We made sure that everybody was at the theater at least an hour before the showtime.
Okay. All right. And by that time, of course, they knew what was going on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I told them, be at the theater at this time. I'm proposing to Ginny, and everybody's super excited. They're really pumped. And then when they get there, I give them direction. Hey, when it gets closer to the time, like it's going to be time down to the minute of when she walks into the theater. All of y'all make sure you're looking down or drop down, whatever it is. Just make sure you don't make eye contact with her where she recognizes you.
Right. Yeah, that would have killed it.
Exactly. So right when she walks in, lights are down lower than normal. Right before she even sits down, I start the video. And remember, it started with the Hangover 3 commercial or trailer. So that allows her to get seated and all. And I made sure to tell Charlie, do not let her get up for Coke or popcorn or go to the bathroom. Make sure she sits there. But that's again why we did it so fast, where it was like one trailer and then we hit her with the proposal trailer.
Boy, you guys really thought of everything. That's just so amazing. On that day, did anything at all go wrong?
I try to think about that, but when me and Mike started planning this whole process, what we realized is, this isn't like a movie to where you can do as many takes as you want. A proposal like this, a wedding, anything where it's one shot, one kill type situation, to where it's like you've got to get it and you've got to get it right the first time, because you can't do a redo, because it's not going to be as authentic, it's not going to be as real, it's not going to be as emotional.
Sure, yeah.
So we really tried to make sure that we even thought about, okay, well, what are we going to do if this happens? What if? And we did so many test runs at the theater leading up to the day that, it was pretty much like clockwork for us. Like we knew everything was going to work. And the only thing that threw the wrench in was when they got those new projectors, but that made it even easier for us. It was literally hit play and it ran.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. Yeah.
No, super nice. So a funny story, and I guess this is one thing we didn't plan on, which kind of turned out pretty cool in the video, is at the end, when it's time for me to actually walk into the theater for the continuity purpose to go in and propose live, me and Mike are outside, and we're both very high energy people, and I'm so excited. I'm like got all this emotion, all this energy running through me. I'm jumping up and down outside the door, about to walk in. Well, of course, all these people going to other theaters see this guy with a camera on a dolly and me jumping up and down going crazy, and they're like, hey, what are y'all doing? And we tell them like, hey, I'm about to propose. And this crowd like forms. There's probably 20, 25 people. And like, do you care if we walk in behind y'all and watch it? And I was like, no, I don't care. Come on in. Just be quiet and follow behind us. So when I come in and, and I'm proposing, there's a live video. She says, yes, everybody's quiet. You hear one guy who people talk about on the YouTube video more than anybody. One guy says one word, bravo. And right when he says bravo, everybody starts clapping. Well, that guy that says bravo was one of the guys that followed me in. And that's something we didn't plan on, but it's a really cool part of the video.
Wow. An uncredited cameo there for him.
Yeah. I would love to find that guy. That would be so cool to like actually meet him. And I'm sure I probably did afterwards while we were leaving, but I mean, I was on such a high, and we were ready to get out of there because again, a real movie was playing in there. There was 25 family members and friends in there of our party, but then there was 75 other random strangers that saw the whole proposal and stayed for the movie to play afterwards. So I didn't want to be too intrusive, so I made sure we got the hell out of there as fast as we could.
Right. I just the movie itself, or your trailer itself, we already talked about the really, I love the part where it's gradually revealed who's talking, you and her dad. But then when you get to the lobby of the theater, and you think, okay, you're running in the front door, you're looking around, which way is the theater, which way do I go? And then you pause and you decide to go buy popcorn on your way to propose. How did you, I mean, I love that comedy. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I definitely have to give credit to Mike. We filmed the scene the first time, and that's the one cool thing about when you are able to go back and make some changes. The first time we did the shot of me coming to the theater, I walked in like all calm, and then we go back and we're looking at it. We're like, why would I walk in when I ran away from the church, and I peeled out and came in fast. So then we reshot the whole thing. And then Mike straight up said, when I came in the lobby, he said, "Oh, dude, how funny would it be if you bought popcorn and you made her wait even more?" And I was like, dude, that is so genius. I love it. Let's do it. And yeah, I mean, it was, because it's, all that music is playing, high energy. And then I stop and I'm looking around and people are like, what is he doing? Like, go propose. And then I walk over and get in line, and like the elevator music starts playing, and I'm buying popcorn. So I love that part. I'm so glad that was definitely a Mike moment right there.
Well, Mike is brilliant then, but it's not just stopping to get something. It's you went over, you stood there and you contemplated, what do I want? You're looking at the menu. Oh, that is just so great. And then, after that, you got your popcorn and it goes into this slow motion running as you round the curve and you're spilling popcorn, and then it goes to the the side by side shot, so that as you're kind of jogging down the hall, I tell you, Mike knows what he's doing if he put all that together.
Oh yeah, no, Mike's phenomenal. I mean, this is what he does. I mean, and we're right here in South Atlanta, and Atlanta's become the Hollywood of the East, and it's he's brilliant. So I mean, that kind of led into some other things for us. This whole video did.
When you got into the theater, as obviously as she knew, when you were walking in the theater, she knew exactly what was going to happen, and it did happen. And she said yes, of course, which is what everyone was counting on. But then this whole thing, it went viral. I mean, I'm looking on YouTube, and this video has right now at least over 34 million views. Did you have any idea that might happen?
No, we had no clue. And I mean, I didn't even know what a viral video was at that time.
I'll bet Mike knew what a viral video was.
Yeah. And, the only thing I remember him talking to me about was, he was like, how crazy would it be if this video got 1,000 views? And I remember thinking, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Like if 1,000 people saw it. And, the whole reason we even put it on YouTube was because the video was too big to put on Facebook. So I wanted to post it so people that couldn't be there at the proposal could watch it. And what was wild was he posted it, I believe, on a Monday, like at 8:30 a.m. when he posted it. I was at work. I get a call at lunchtime, and it's the local Atlanta ABC affiliate. And they're like, "Hey, is this you on this video?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We want you to come in studio tonight. We want to do a story on it." And I was like, "Are you serious?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's got like 50,000 views." I was like, "What?" And then I looked it up, like I'm at work, and I pull it up, and sure enough, it had like 50,000 views in just a few hours. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? So I call Mike, and Mike's like, "Oh shit, dude, like this thing is going viral. Like it's just blowing up." And what was wild about it was, I think the person that tweeted it that really just sent it over the top was Alyssa Milano. Like she tweeted out the video, and when she did, it went from like 50,000 to like 2 million views by that night. By the time we went on the news, it was in the millions. So the next day, it was crazy. So then the very next day, I'm at work, and this is kind of a cool story. I was selling insurance in school systems. I was doing for teachers. I was doing health insurance and disability insurance and all. Well, I just so happened to be working in the elementary school that I went to as a kid, and it was in a town 30 minutes away from me. And I'm sitting there working, talking to a teacher, and my phone starts ringing, and I look down, and it says LA. It's an LA area code. So I don't answer it, thinking that it's a telemarketer or somebody. Well, the same number calls me again, and I pick up, and it was like, "Hey, is this Matt Steele?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "This is Chris Cucci from the Ellen DeGeneres Show." And I was like, "Ha ha, very funny," and I hung up on him.
Oh man.
And yeah, so then like right immediately he calls back, and the first thing he says, he's like, "Don't hang up. I'm dead serious. This is Chris Cucci. I'm a producer. I'm one of Ellen's producers. She's seen your video and she wants you to come be a guest." And I like almost like jaw dropped onto the desk. The person I was talking to is like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is Ellen on the phone." And they start freaking out. They're like, "Are you serious?" Because I'd shown her the video, like I'd shown like the whole school watched it at a meeting I was at, and it was just crazy that they were like, "We want you to." Ellen is telling me that they want us to be guests to come out there, and that's really when some crazy stuff started happening.
And it's not just Ellen. I mean, you were on CNN and Today Show and all these major, that's commonly what happens when something like this goes that viral. All of the media outlets want to have you on because you're the big news right at the moment. How soon did you go out to be on Ellen's show?
Well, you bring up a good point. All the media outlets want to have the big story on, but not only that, but all the biggest ones like Good Morning America, Today Show, Ellen, they not only want to have them, but they want to have you first. So it's almost like a battle of, hey, if you do this show, then we don't want you. Like you got to pick one of us. So Ellen wasn't going to fly us out to be on the show for 2 weeks. They were going to fly us out on a Friday and then fly us back on Saturday. But it was 2 weeks from then. Well, literally a few days later, Good Morning America calls us at night, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. And they're like, "Hey, we want you to be on the show in the morning." And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's 9 o'clock at night." And they said, "No, you and Ginny pack a bag, go to the airport, get on a plane, fly here. We'll cover all your expenses, and you're going to be on the show live in the morning." And I was pumped because I'd never been to New York, and I still haven't been to New York. And the reason why is we called the producer from Ellen because he told us, he said, "If anybody wants you to be on their show, just let me know first." So we called and we didn't know what we were doing. And I told him that Good Morning America wants us. And he was like, "No." He was like, "If you go on Good Morning America in the morning, then we're going to have to replace you because your show's not going to air for another 2 weeks. We haven't even filmed you." And he was like, "You've got to choose." Well, my wife she loves Ellen. I love Ellen. So we chose Ellen. Well, he calls me and he was like, "All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to fly you out this Friday and you'll be in LA for a week and we'll cover your expense and then we'll film on the following Friday." So they were pretty much hiding us by bringing us to LA. So we couldn't go on any other shows. And it was a blast. It was like a great little trip for me and my fiance, and we got to go out to Ellen, and then we ended up going and we weren't on the show, but we went to the Jimmy Kimmel show because they wanted us to be on it. We told them we couldn't be on it, but they still liked us. So they brought us and we got to hang out in the green room and then we got to go on the roof with Jimmy Kimmel's people and like right across from the Grauman Theater. It was a phenomenal experience and trip. And then of course we got to go and be on Ellen. So it was a really, really exciting time. It was an exciting 15 minutes.
Yeah, your 15 minutes of fame, but it lasted a few days anyway. So that's good. So all of this fame and notoriety because of a video that was created. At that time, were you thinking, how can we leverage this, or how can we turn this to our advantage? But you turned it into a business, right? Or is that because Mike was already in the business and it brought him more business, or how did that work?
We weren't expecting, we didn't want to turn this into anything other than what it was, and which was just our story of love, our proposal. But what ended up happening was we started getting all these emails and all these messages from people all over the world. Like literally, I mean, we did shows in Hong Kong and Australia, and mostly they were, all radio shows or internet interviews. but it was just amazing to see people were telling us that our love story was an inspiration to them. And we would get messages from older couples that would say, hey, we've been married for 30 plus years and just kind of going through the motions. But then when we watched your video together, it reminded us of how we felt when we first met and when we first fell in love. And it's like completely changed our marriage. And when we got emails like that, it was a game changer, it was life changing, and it just felt amazing. So what happened was, people started asking us for help on their proposals, started asking for advice and all. And Michael's like, man, you know what? We should do this as a business. And because we could really help people, and you love doing it, which I do. I absolutely love it. Like, I love being creative. I love doing heartfelt stories. I love making things unique for each individual couple, making it just where it's about them. Because you'd be surprised how many people like wanted to just straight up copy my proposal. And if you Google it, marriage theater proposal, you'll see probably about 50 to 100 that, people do this now. And there's some that make their own little twist, but there's some that are just straight up copycats, like use the exact same words that I said and all. And, people always ask me, does that bother you? Do you get mad about people copying? And I tell them absolutely not. Like, for one, imitation is the highest form of flattery. And two, if somebody was touched enough to take what we did in our special moment and make it their own and do that, then that's awesome. Like, I cheer those people on. I'm not a person that gets jealous or like, man, I can't believe they, copied my proposal. I don't feel that way at all. But when we started talking about doing these as a business, we actually were approached by a couple of producers from Hollywood. And they said, hey, look, we actually think that you could do this as a TV show. And it was like a dream come true for me, a dream that I didn't even know I had, I guess you could say, because I didn't know that as me, somebody that grew up in Georgia, I never thought that I would be on TV. But I've always been that kind of, out there, like to be at the front of the crowd. I love doing presentations, speaking in public. And this was just kind of the best of everything, because not only was I going to get to be able to do that, but I was going to be able to do something that was so positive in a world where all the TV shows were about nothing but negativity, pretty much,
Yeah.
So it was super exciting that the producers wanted us to do this. I mean, they flew us out to Hollywood. We spent a week out there with them. We went and met with a couple of big production houses while we were there. And there was definitely some interest, and they actually flew a crew over here and we filmed a pilot episode, really basic one that we've never released. It's actually on our YouTube channel, but it's unlisted. So you can't really see it unless I share like the list. But where we did a real proposal, we helped a firefighter do a proposal, and it was a blast. And we've done a bunch since then. But, unfortunately, the time when they were trying to pitch that show, the shows that were popular were Honey Boo Boo, The Kardashians, just those shows, Jersey Shore. It was the shows about not as positive as what we were putting out there. So unfortunately, it never got picked up.
That's a shame. Yeah, all those shows that you just mentioned, they're like the most superficial, ridiculous, stupid shows, and yet something like yours that's really going to inspire people. But that's Hollywood, though, right?
Yeah. We just, it was not the right time. But again, that's not why I did the proposal. That's not why Michael helped me do the proposal. That was just kind of a great God thing that came from it. Just something that was really positive that could have happened because of it.
So what is the service that you guys offer now? If somebody comes to you and says, okay, I'm thinking about proposing, but you do more than that, right?
Yeah, well, it's actually Michael's full-time gig. Michael started his own production company. It's called M3 Creative. And then I am just a consultant with him and a side business partner. So I help him on the creative aspects of it. But yeah, I mean, what he does and what we do is we can do pretty much anything and everything, from the proposals to the actual wedding films to daddy-daughter dances to surprise prom proposals. I mean, there's anything and everything that you could do as a surprise we can handle. I mean, Michael actually now even does, he's doing movies and TV shows, and that's all part of his big aspect. But the parts that I help him on, we still love doing those proposals and wedding videos just because those are always just positive, uplifting, loving videos.
Yeah. Have you guys done any where the someone in the military comes home and surprises their spouse or their family or anything like that?
I did actually on my own. So we didn't do this through the company, but I personally do much lower budget films. And that's really all I post now on my social media sites and on our YouTube channel or the videos that I'm making. But, they're usually more personal videos about our family. But I was coaching a kid's softball team, my daughter's softball team last year. And two of the daughters, their dad was deployed overseas. I found out from the mom that he was coming home one game. So I came up with a way to where we would surprise the daughters and got the other team involved. And it's actually a really cool video that you can check out on our YouTube channel. But I allowed all the girls to dress up as a princess or anything, or superhero, anything they wanted for the game, instead of wearing like our softball uniforms, and had them go out into center field and was giving like a speech. And at that time I had the other team come out. They formed a tunnel from home out the second base, and we put their dad standing on home plate. And I had the girls all turn around. I was like, "Oh, who is that?" And they turn around and they saw their dad, and they take off running. And both these girls, like one was wearing a Jasmine. I think they were both wearing princess uniforms. And it was so touching seeing them run like through the crowd, and like all the fans are cheering, and they run into their dad's arms. And it's just, those are the videos that do it. That's what I love doing, is those types of videos.
Yeah. And I love watching those too. And that's the bad thing about YouTube. You start watching a video like that, and then you get all the suggestions of similar videos on the side. And before you know it, 2 hours has gone by and I haven't watched videos. So, but it's certainly a great thing. What is your YouTube channel? Do you have a regular URL?
It's YouTube /Matt and Ginny.
Okay, so I'll have links to all that in the show notes for this episode. And this is incredible. You are someone, obviously, and Mike as well, that knows how to make memories. Did you realize when you were making this proposal video, you must have been thinking in the back of your head, this is a video or film that's going to be in our family for generations and talked about for decades?
Yeah, as we were putting it together and as all the editing started to come together, and I mean, like you said, it's got 34 million views, and I'd be lying if I said that probably 1 million of them aren't straight from me. But I still get choked up every single time I watch it. Like it never changes. Like the feeling never changes. And, me and my wife, we aren't perfect by any means. We're not like this perfect movie time family or marriage. There's definitely ups and downs, but anytime that I'm, feeling down about our marriage or upset, or if I'm mad at her or something, I'll watch that and it melts away, and it brings back all those feelings. It's just like those emails that we got from the people that've been married 30 years, that video does it to me every single time I watch it. If I'm ever in trouble, I just copy it, send the link to Ginny, and hope she watches it as well, and hope that it does the same for her.
Get you out of the doghouse sometimes, huh?
Or at least gets me a bone.
This happened back in 2011, and so you guys obviously got married, but now it's more than just you and Ginny. You got a whole family.
It is. We've got a 7-year-old daughter who is amazing. Her name is Irie Virginia Steele. And it's funny, her name Irie is a word in Jamaica that just means everything is positive, everything is uplifting. And she got her name because when we went on Ellen sent us to Jamaica for our honeymoon. And while we didn't get pregnant on the honeymoon, we waited an entire 26 days afterwards. So, we put a lot of time into it. We joked, and we just loved that word so much because everybody said it, and we loved the meaning. We're like, oh, if we get pregnant, let's let's name our kid Irie. And so it just stuck with it. And she is every bit of the word. So we had Irie. And then 5 months ago, we had our son, and his name is Oaks. So we, wanted him to have just as powerful his name as Irie. So we, with our blended families and how large our family are, I wanted something that had something to do with like family roots. And the roots of an oak tree are some of the strongest and run deepest in the ground. So that's where his name Oaks comes from.
So it's Oaks, plural?
Correct. Oakes.
Oh, ES. Okay. All right. So Irie and Oaks, those are two very original names. Well, you guys are just, the creativity never ends with you.
It can't. I mean, then it would just get too boring.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and it's kind of fun. I mean, it sounds like I can picture either one of you or Ginny, doing something to surprise the other one. But even though it might be a surprise in the moment, it's not really a surprise that you did it, because sounds like you kind of both have that personality.
Yeah. In tons of the interviews, they always ask Ginny. I'm the much bigger like surpriser, and she actually will tell people that she don't even like surprises, which is hilarious, because why would she have married me? But she tells, I never do anything the easy way. Like, it's always kind of over the top, and I try to make things fun. And we've got one video to where her dream vehicle was a Chevy Tahoe, and so I was able to buy her one from a buddy of ours. And so I made a video of her doing a review of a vacuum cleaner, where I ended up surprising her with the Tahoe in the video. And then my mom thinks that she's in on the surprise of the Tahoe for my wife, but we turned around and surprised her during the same video and told her that we were pregnant. So I love doing the surprises to where you think it's going this way, then you think you figured it out and it's over here, and then it comes up being something totally different.
I love that. And is that on your YouTube channel also?
It is. Yeah, it's on there.
Definitely got to go watch some of these videos. The only one I've seen so far is the trailer. So yeah, I got some viewing to do. Well, Matt, this is an awesome story, and I love the fact that it's coming out on Valentine's Day today, February 14. I really appreciate you sharing it with us.
I appreciate you letting me share it. It's always a great thing and a great feeling to spread positivity and love.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this Valentine's Day episode as much as I did. I'd love to be able to plan ahead for every episode that happens to fall on a holiday, but I can tell you that just ain't going to happen. But this was a fun one. And here's something else fun I did recently. In our Facebook group, I asked this question: what are you usually doing while you listen to podcasts? And I got a variety of answers. Maggie is cleaning houses, since that's her job. Lisa is driving. Santana is either cleaning someone's house, or she's taking a bath or driving. Kobe usually listens to 88 different podcasts while at work overnight making airbags. Bethany listens while she works from home or at night while falling asleep. Marcy listens while driving an 18-wheeler. Sherian also listens while she's driving for work. Povey listens while she's driving her kids to practice or while she's at her kids' practice. Zach listens while he's flying. Susan listens while she's delivering mail on a university campus. Travis listens while he's driving, walking, cleaning, or cooking, but not while he's exercising. That's when he needs music. Faith listens while driving, and Krista listens while driving, biking, hiking, or cleaning. For Megan, she's either running or sitting in the hot tub. Teresa listens while running, cleaning, driving, or when she's falling asleep. Jenny listens while doing housework or computer work or while she's sleeping. So some of these people might be sleeping right now as they're listening to me talk. So if I were a mischievous person, I could say something right now and plant some kind of subconscious thoughts in their heads. Wait a minute, I am a mischievous person, but I won't do that. For me, I listen to podcasts while I'm driving, or riding my bike, or on the treadmill at the gym. But wherever you are right now, while you're listening, I'm glad you're here. And when you hear your alarm clock go off, you will immediately begin to bark like a dog. See you in 2 weeks.